Welcome back to The Great Expanse by John Bat 426 here on YouTube. And I'm doing my third movie review, and it's a movie that I kind of stayed away from, almost like it itself was COVID-19 because it just looked bad. Eternals. But I told myself, I reasoned within my own mind, with my own logic, that if I can sit through 3 at the time ghastly She-Hulk episodes, I can certainly give Eternals a watch. I watched this movie, Eternals. I appreciate the world building they were doing. I appreciate where they were going. I appreciate the fact that they tried to be serious. And I know that might sound like I'm pandering. Like, well, it's MCU. Are you like an MCU shill? No, not really. But I appreciate where they tried to go with it. Okay? So I can't give it an F because they tried. And so many movies have stopped trying to be serious. So many movies have stopped trying to bring any weight to something. All they want to do is bring the weight of humor. All they want to do is just make a parody out of everything. But I can't give Eternals an F, okay? Having said that, I will give Eternals a D. Because as much as they tried, the execution was very poor. The technology in this movie took us back a few decades. Every time an Eternal used their powers, they would just go have an actor stand in front of a green screen, and all this writing would just come out of their forearms, and you can tell it didn't come from them. That's why it was so awful. Or for instance, and I'm jumping around on the movie review, when the former leader of the Eternals, not Ajax, but Ajax, played by the wonderful Salma Hayek, whenever she would communicate with the celestial Harington, who created the Eternals, okay, and I'm gonna get into that, this glowing disco ball would emerge from her clavicle, and it's so bad, and it would just go, and then she would be teleported. She would kind of be like, she would be in like this sort of a transcendental conversation, almost like Sardo Numspa and the Devil in Golden Child. So she would be in front of this massive celestial that's like the size of a city, Harington, okay? But the technology looks so bad. And the Eternals' mission is to protect planets from these creatures called the Deviants, okay? The Deviants look like Resident Evil rendered characters from the video game, not from the movie. They look like video game characters put into a movie. It's like flowing muscle fibers. It's very poorly done. And the CGI in this movie, the computer generated images, they pull me back from the movie. They don't take me out of it because I was into the story, okay? And again, the story wasn't executed great, but I was still into the story because I like to watch something from beginning to end. You understand? So it had to drop several grades because of the grade of the technology. It was just so bad. So let's look at the cast. The cast, now, I'm a fan of Game of Thrones from season 1 to season 7. Season 8 was blah. All right, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. Richard Madden, who played Robb Stark, he plays Icarus, the lead Eternal in the comic books. And Kit Harington, who played Jon Snow. You know nothing, Jon Snow. He plays a love interest of another Eternal called Cersei. And we're going to elaborate more on Kit Harington's character in this movie. The young man that played in the Arkham scene from The Batman, who played the Joker masterfully, Barry Keoghan. He is also in the movie. So when I see these guys on screen, I'm geeking out. I'm like, Robb Stark, Jon Snow, Joker. All right, so I'm geeking out. So the story of the Eternals is they were synthetic beings. They don't look synthetic at all. They look like regular human beings. So I guess when they were on other planets, they looked like aliens, or they were treated like aliens. Okay, so by the time they come to Earth, they look just like Earthlings. They don't look like aliens anymore. Okay, points down for that. All right. Now, I'm gonna get into why there are points down for that. Because now in the comic books, the Eternals look like humans anyway. Okay. So the Eternals are millennia old. Millennia is the plural of millennium. Okay, they're millennia old, about 10,000 years. They land on Earth. they contribute their alien technology to ancient Egypt, like they deal with all ancient people who do things that we can't figure out. Like, oh yeah, it must have been aliens that did it. They contributed to Babylon, another ancient civilization where they constructed the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, and they were just a powerhouse in the ancient world. So somebody alien had to have contributed, because we don't know how they did things like build the pyramids or the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. All right. So the Eternals have been around for all of human history, basically. When they get to the Mayans, the slaughter of the Mayans is when the Eternals say we're not going to protect them anymore. And the Eternals split up. And I still don't know why. But like I said, Salma Hayek, she moves to this house on a prairie. Not a little house, but it's a house in like this desolate zone in South Dakota with no other house. It's like the house in the Book of Eli, where it's just a house and nothing else around it. She's living there by herself for reasons I don't know. There's no other humans that she has to take care of or anything. And she winds up dead. She's like petrified, like a petrified wood in the forest. And Cersei, who's like the Asian alien Eternal. Again, the inclusion in this movie doesn't make any sense because they're supposed to be aliens. There's a black gay Eternal named Fastos. And there's a little kid redhead. I guess that's part of the inclusion. A little kid redhead that never gets older, even though she's synthetic. Again, which forces people to think. But remember, it's an MCU film, so you have to pull back your thinking and just watch the movie. So things happen. The Eternals split up, okay? And Angelina Jolie goes crazy for some reason. I don't remember. Again, this is a movie I probably will never rewatch. So the Benedict Wong, another Asian Eternal, who's Gilgamesh, he says, I'll take care of her for all time or something. Then there's an Indian, a Hindi Eternal. Again, the inclusion doesn't make sense because we're talking about aliens who are synthetic beings. Does not make sense. He's like a Bollywood star. And it kind of reminds me of, what's that guy's name? Borat. Because he's always followed around by some out of shape guy. And I don't remember what the Indian man's name was that was always filming stuff. So things happen. The Deviants come back like he expected them to in London. That's where they first encounter the Deviants. And Icarus damages one of the Deviants with his eye beams, very reminiscent of Superman. And the Deviant heals himself. And they're like, they've never done that before. He's like, I can't believe they're back. So they say, we got to go talk to Ajax. And that's when they discovered that Ajax was dead. Okay. So they're like, we got to get all the Eternals together because the Deviants have come back. And it begs the question, like, why weren't they invested in the Marvel Universe beforehand? Because threats more dangerous than the Deviants have been going around the planet for ages. So why is it just these Deviants? Why is it we just have to fight the Deviants? Thanos can come, the Chitauri can come, Norse gods can come and pollute mankind, but as long as it's not a Deviant, we can stay in our little secluded portions of civilization. Doesn't make sense. Because I'm thinking too much. So, and I'm skipping a whole bunch of stuff because a lot of it isn't memorable. So, Cersei learned that Ajax wanted her to take over leadership of the Eternals when it should have been Icarus. But Icarus is a male, so he can't be a lead character in a Marvel film for some reason. That's what it seems like. If there's a group, the woman has to be in charge. Not that a woman can't lead, but if we're basing this on the comics, why are we making the lead Eternal subservient? He's clearly the most powerful. So Cersei is next in line to be the leadership. She can communicate now with Arishem, the Celestial, because the corny computer-rendered disco ball that came out of Ajax's clavicle, it comes out of her dead, petrified body and it goes into Cersei's clavicle, and she can communicate with Arishem, the Celestial that created them. So blah, 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 things happen. Cersei learns that Arishem and the Eternals are not who they thought they were. Surprise there. And they were originally told that they were created in a home called Olympia, but Arishem just came out and said, well, that's not true. That was a lie. He said, I created you. You've gone from planet to planet, destroying civilizations just so you can birth Eternals out of these worlds. And Arishem says, I created the deviants too. So I created your enemy, you're fighting against each other, and you just repeat this over the course of millennia, and I forgot what the million-year term is called. Meganum, excuse me, Meganum. So they're doing this, and he says, oh, I conveniently wipe your memory after every civilization is destroyed. So conveniently, on planet Earth, we can't do what we've been doing for millions of years. We care too much for these people. Why? Because you look like humanity? There's nothing special about humanity, like in the MCU. Because they're just like the people of Earth now. There's nothing special. I mean, they're people we love, but humans are not a noble race. Can we just admit that? All right. So, you're like, well, are we going to really fulfill our destiny? And Icarus is like, yeah, we're going to destroy this planet so that the Celestial being birthed by the intelligence of humanity. That's one of the lines. The Celestials are helping humankind develop their intelligence because that intelligence gets soaked into the planet's core and it can birth an Eternal. So the Eternal in utero is named Tiamat, almost like Tiamat from Dungeons and Dragons. So they're saying we're not going through with this. Icarus says, oh, by the way, I killed Ajax, which I saw coming, like kind of earlier in the film, that he's the one that killed Ajax. So she's like, why? And he says, the will of the Celestials has to be done. He's doing what he was created to do. But for some reason, he's the bad guy from the perspective of the audience. He's like, oh, he's bad. The Eternals are the ones that aren't fulfilling their mission here. Even if it's a bad mission, I'm just saying. Icarus isn't bad for doing his primary programming. And again, the story is muddled. It's silly. I mean, Icarus his whole thing was, well, if this Eternal doesn't destroy billions of lives, he can't go and create billions of lives. Makes no sense. But that's because I'm thinking too much. Alright? So they have a fight. Icarus fights the Eternals. He just slaps them around a few times, never kills them, which would have solved the problem. If you just kill them, Tiamat can be birthed. None of the Eternals can stop you. In Phastos, the gay black Eternal, he does the Gulliver's Travels thing on Icarus when Gulliver was in Lilliput and the tiny people kind of like fastened them to the ground. So he's like, they're conveniently sapping your power because the plot demands it, at the same time. So of course Icarus breaks out. He doesn't hurt anybody. He slaps them around, but he doesn't kill anybody. So it's like, what kind of killer are you? Anyway. So Cersei is the one that has to stop Tiamat. So Icarus can't bring himself to kill Cersei. So Cersei uses her powers of the elements to freeze a Celestial. That's birthing Tiamat. That's birthing itself. You can see his hand. And that was one of the few great special effects. You see the top of his head, because the Celestials have like 6 eyes, I believe. And you see his hand emerging. So the Celestial can create life, create civilizations. Basically, they create death seeds as well, which Apocalypse, I'm sure, from the X-Men. Apocalypse is very closely tied into the Celestials, and I'm sure we'll learn about that when the X-Men are finally rendered in the MCU. So she stops this all-powerful celestial being by freezing him. So planet-borne minerals can stop this intergalactic threat. Even if it's crystallized, it's still of Earth. Even if it's steel, it's still of Earth. So why can this stop a Celestial? So that's how they save the day. At the end, Icarus flies too close to the sun, like his namesake, and that's the end of Icarus. And then Arishem snatches some of the Celestials at the end and says, I'm going to wipe your memory or something, and they're gone. And the rest of the Eternals on the Earth say, well, we got to find them. And that's how the movie ends. So now Kit Harington's character, I learned at the end, his name is Dane, and he's in Britain. So of course I'm thinking, where have I heard that before? And he's the Black Knight. He's of the ancestry of the original Black Knight. He has this sword that has the the flowing mercurial substance on it, and it like speaks to him or something. Again, I don't remember because I'm never gonna watch this movie again. And so we got a new hero coming, and Wong's in it again for some reason. Benedict Wong is really the MCU is really getting their money's worth out of Benedict Wong. Again, I don't despise the actor, but I despise the character. So, like I said, I can appreciate where they were going. I appreciate the tone they were trying to create. It wasn't like nonstop gags like the Thor: Love and Thunder or the She-Hulk series. So I can respect Eternals, but I gotta give it a D. A D for bad story, a D for horrible visual effects. And I'm sorry, Sprite, the actress, her lines were horribly delivered. She wasn't a great actress in this performance. Maybe she does Shakespearean level stuff and something else, but some of the stuff she said was just not believable. And she used a profanity. She's like, is that a deviant? I'm like, did she go to the Jake Lloyd School of Acting? Instead of Juilliard, she went to Jake Lloyd, who played the young Anakin Skywalker. So Eternals gets a D. It's not an F, but this is pretty much a failure. Okay? This has been my review of the Eternals. Do you agree? Do you disagree? If you disagree, write a dissertation as to why The Great Expanse by John Bat 426 ain't got a clue. How come I don't know nothing? Explain it to me in the comment section. And we've got things coming up in the future. There's a death battle that's on its way between Apocalypse and Black Adam. I can't wait for you guys to see that. And I think that's about it. And remember, Wakanda Forever is coming November 11th. That will close out Marvel Phase 4, and we will begin Phase 5 next year. I don't know what I'm ringing out here by doing that. But anyway, thank you so much for being here, and I appreciate all 40 of you guys. 40, go out and get another 40, and let's just do some math, and let's multiply the subscription. All right? Thank you guys so much.